I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
We have such sights to show you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
I guess I was probably returning videotapes.
I am big. It's the picture that got small.
Who cares?
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Movie Roulette Tuesday podcast. This is Rachel.
This is Carl.
This is Matt.
Do you notice how I was not extra this time? I just straightforward.
That's nice.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you. You don't have anything to say about that?
No.
You weren't paying attention.
I was trying to adjust your mic because you're very quiet.
Well, I am speaking directly into my microphone, so maybe it's just too low.
Nope.
I don't know. Anyway, welcome. It is my pick.
Sure is.
And we are continuing the themesicle of within the last year, within the last rolling year.
Yes.
So I'm going to jump right in. My pick is from...
You have nothing to say? No ads? No 50-minute long...
No, I don't do that. That's
into?
your purview, your domain. I don't do that. We're just going to get right into the meat of things here. So the movie I chose premiered in December of 2023, so I just make it. I just make it within the rolling year. And the movie is Poor Things. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. It's a nice Greek name.
You pronouncing that right?
I don't know. Does it sound right?
Yeah.
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Pretty much.
Who apparently also directed The Lobster, which I have never seen. Have you
yes,
seen
you
that?
have. Didn't we watch that?
Is that the Colin Farrell?
Yeah, or did we watch The Walrus?
We watched Tusk.
Or Tusk.
Which
is Kevin
terrible.
Smith's movie, which is amazing.
Terrible. We did not watch The Lobster.
No, you're right. I don't think we did.
I think The Lobster is a more serious
Yeah, I think it's like if you can't find love with somebody, you turn into an animal, or like it's something weird like that.
Yeah, yep. So anyway.
That might be an A24 movie, now that I'm thinking about it.
Perhaps. It's possible. But this movie stars Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, and Willem Dafoe. Perennial favorite Willem Dafoe.
Creepy Willem Dafoe.
Yes. So the description is as follows. From filmmaker Yorgos Lanthimos and producer Emma Stone comes the incredible tale and fantastical evolution of Bella Baxter, a young woman brought back to life by the brilliant and unorthodox scientist Dr. Godwin Baxter. Under Baxter's protection, Bella is eager to learn. Hungry for the worldliness she is lacking, Bella runs off with Duncan Wedderburn, a slick and debauched lawyer, on a whirlwind adventure across the continents. Different types of experiences come her way over time.
Oh, well, good.
It's like Forrest Gump with like a zombie girl, or what?
Well, I think this is like a Frankenstein story.
Okay.
And then also like a I'm assuming. I don't really know. I didn't try to look too much into this So before I even go any further, the reason I picked this movie, and I know I mentioned it last week, is because my sister watched it earlier this year. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about the movies we watch for MRT and what she's been watching. And she told me, I watched this movie. And she goes, I need you to watch it. I'm like, why? Did you like it? She goes, I don't know. I need you to watch it because I don't know how I feel about it. So that intrigued me. And that's what was the thought process behind this whole
pick.
Yeah. Themesicle. I submitted this theme.
But you submitted this theme before your sister brought up this movie,
No,
or no?
I didn't. No. She watched it right when it came out, I think. And we did this in December.
Wow. So this has been in the queue.
Yeah. This was the movie that I was going to pick. Yeah. So I was waiting for this to be chosen. Oh. This is IMDb describes this as a dark comedy / steampunk / drama / romance / sci-fi movie.
So
just all the things.
Just all the things.
Just a cornucopia of genres.
It was nominated for a bunch of Oscars.
Yeah, it was critically, I think it did well.
Critically acclaimed.
Emma Stone won a bunch of awards for it.
Best Actress.
She did, yeah.
So The only thing I did with this movie was sometimes I'll scan reviews, and I'll avoid reviews that have spoilers, but I'll scan reviews on IMDb just to be like, what did people think of this movie? And, there's all kinds of people and all kinds of opinions, but the reviews were highly polarized. This was either a movie that there was no middle ground. You either loved it or you hated it and thought it was hot garbage.
I mean, if these reviews didn't have spoilers, why did people hate it?
Okay. So almost everyone, whether they loved it or hated it, said it's visually stunning.
Sure.
Like, there's a lot to look at. The sets and costume design and all of that is amazing. The problem people had, the main problem people had was there's lots of sex in this movie. In fact,
That's a problem?
Well, wait. So, like IMDb rates movies like how much sex and nudity and how much gore and how much language or drug use.
They have the parental, like for parents, like the parental guidelines where you can look at it and they warn you.
They have mild, moderate, and severe. So
tell me this is severe.
Severe. There is severe sex and nudity in this film.
Is this a porn, Rachel?
No, but then I was like, wow, I don't want to get into the weeds of the reviews because I want to watch the movie and I want to form my own opinion.
Fair.
But generally speaking, and I've noticed this in online world, and maybe I'm crazy, but this is really what I've noticed, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Millennials and Gen Z do not like sex in film. It makes them, I've seen this many, many times over, many people commenting on film Twitter accounts that I follow. When I was on Reddit, people would talk about it there, that a lot of younger people feel very uncomfortable, don't understand why it's necessary to insert sex scenes into movies and would rather do without them. Like, people have come out and said that. And that wasn't how we grew up.
They're fine with violence.
Yeah. But
I don't know. I mean, I've heard that as well.
Have you? It's
I
not
have
just
seen
me.
that
I've
where
seen it.
People find that, sex scenes in film just aren't necessary. They don't add anything to the film. It's more of a detractor than anything else. And I don't know that I can see, I've tried. Some films, sure, where it's just gratuitous and you don't need it. But then again, when that happens, you usually know what you're getting into ahead of time. Like, imagine a show like Game of Thrones where, there's plenty of nudity and sex.
It's gratuitous in Game of Thrones, but I think it's...
But you know that.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of the reason why you watch it. But to have kind of a blanket opinion that you shouldn't have that sort of content in movies is odd to me.
I think so. I mean, I don't need gratuitous anything in movies.
But to give that thought a bit of credence, have you ever watched a film where a sex scene or whatever you want to call it, intimacy between two people,
sexual mischief?
We've
trademarked that, right? That's our trademark.
Yeah, sure.
Term? Okay, great.
Occurs and it adds to the film.
I think any love story film, it can add to it. If it's...
but a love story typically isn't going to have what some people might consider gratuitous sex.
Well, then that's
What's
subjective.
gratuitous?
Exactly.
What's the line?
I mentioned Game of Thrones. I've never seen the show Euphoria, but I do know that it contains a lot of graphic sex and nudity and things like that. But isn't that also targeted at that same demographic?
Yes.
Yeah.
So...
I don't know. It's just something I've noticed, and I noticed in these reviews. Now, that wasn't the only criticism of this movie, but it bothered a lot of people. Now, that intrigues me, because it's like...
Is it the context? I mean, we'll find out.
We're going to find out.
But if there's this idea where someone is coming back is an adult physically, but coming back to life in a child's
mind
mentality.
yeah,
and they're involved in these things, I can understand someone maybe having a problem with that. I think
some people did have a problem with that, but again, I'd want to watch the movie because it's a movie, right? It's somebody's being reanimated from the dead. This is fantasy, and having a childlike wonderment being reanimated sends its own message. So I'm not sure that we can be so literal, but maybe the movie is. I don't know. This is a lot of speculation on my part.
It really depends on how it's portrayed, right? I mean, if it's
what do I take away from it?
Things like that again in an adult context, but with a sense of wonderment that maybe wasn't there before or was lost is one thing. But to put a child mentality into an adult body and then have them engage in things like, for example, no one seemed to have a problem at the time when the movie Big came out.
I was thinking the same thing.
Right?
Josh Baskin totally banged Elizabeth Perkins' character in that movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he was a child in an adult's body.
That's right.
He was never an adult and is being like reanimated or anything. He was just big.
Yeah. It's like, oh, maybe that's not good.
And no one batted an eye
Nope.
until later. I mean, maybe they did. I wasn't aware of it if it happened at the time, but people do mention that, nowadays. It's like that's weird. Like, you don't really think about it when you're watching it, and then it's like that. He totally had sex with an adult woman.
And what did she think after the fact when she found out?
Right.
I'm going to jail. So
imagine trying to explain to the police. No, he was an adult man at the time.
Please, you have to believe
he made a wish. I'm sorry, I don't understand it.
But one of the best in all caps in one review was, "Do not watch this with your parents."
That's always awkward.
Yeah.
Which is another thing I wanted to talk about, and it's true. I can watch crazy levels of violence with my parents, and it's no problem. People can be like murdered and mutilated and horrible things. But as soon as like a sex scene happens, I'm like, oh, I feel so uncomfortable.
Because
I don't want this.
It's violence has been normalized, right?
I guess.
In our society, we're used to seeing it. It seems like separated from reality. Even though bad things really do happen, obviously, most of us are insulated from that. So it's kind of I don't know. It's just part of the action, right? You're not thinking about it in that way, but when intimacy gets involved, that's a more personal thing. Those are real things that
they're
most
not
people
happening to you.
Engage in. No, but you're observing them in an audience where you don't necessarily want your thoughts on that type of thing to show, or it's just uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable
to experience with somebody else.
So I have to ask, that's a good explanation, I think. But I have to ask, was there ever a movie that you remember watching with one or both parents that you just wanted to like die? Be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm sitting here with my mom or dad and watching this. I have one. And it wasn't even that bad.
I remember when I was watching Edward Penis Hands with my parents.
No, you watched Edward Penis Hands with your friends. That was also weird.
I had to show somebody else just the ridiculousness.
I know you did.
But that's a good example, right?
Yeah, but like, was it weird? Yes. Did I want to like die inside? No, I didn't.
All right, sure. It's
but
different.
like with your parents, it's like, oh my God, I got to get out of here.
I don't remember anything specific for me.
I don't either.
I've seen. I mean, my mom took me to see Die Hard after I strong-armed her into it, but that's violence. There's no nudity in Die Hard or anything.
There's no sex or anything like that in Die Hard.
I don't remember anything off the top of my head that was embarrassing like that.
No?
Nothing that stands out. I mean, there were definitely moments where there were films that I saw. I was watching it with, probably my dad more than my mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I don't really want to, like, I want to see this, but not
with you.
Not with you.
I remember watching Backdraft with my dad. We just put it on And they like do it on top of the fire truck.
Yeah, but
or
you don't
something.
see anything.
It doesn't matter. I was like,
Yeah, the Baldwin. Whatever Baldwin's
Billy,
in that
was it
movie.
Billy Baldwin?
One of the Baldwins.
I'll never. I just felt. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I want to get off. I don't want to do this.
Well, and that's a movie, one of those movies where you wouldn't expect there to be a
That's right.
scene
I'm
like
like,
that.
oh,
It's about
firefighters. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my sister almost suggested to watch, because she'll go to my dad's house sometime, or we'll have movie night or whatever, and she almost suggested this movie, and then she talked to a friend, the friend who had recommended it, and they were like, dude, nope, you don't want to watch this with your parents.
So I mean, there's having that scenario where you're young, right, and you're watching it with a parent. I think it is similar but different when you're older, an adult yourself, maybe with children or whatever, where it's like you're obviously familiar with that content, right?
Yep.
And it's still weird. Like there was one night when your dad and Kayla came over, and your dad picked the movie. It was, I think, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Was in it. It was like some... like
bad Clint Eastwood.
Bad Clint Eastwood movie.
Bad.
I wish I could remember the name of it. However, I do remember that there were several scenes where people are raped.
Yes, and we're watching it as a family.
Yeah, and
It's good after dinner watching.
And at one point, I think my dad's like, "I regret picking this movie."
I think you talked about this movie in a prior episode.
So.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
man.
like something. I don't know, but it's uncomfortable to watch for some reason. But I think I don't know.
How about when we watched that? What was that movie we watched with my dad with James Woods? It was like a future movie.
Videodrome?
Videodrome.
We watched that with your dad?
I think we did.
That's a weird movie to watch with a parent.
I think we did.
Any David Cronenberg really is a weird movie to watch with your parents.
Oh my God.
But I don't know, not to go down a rabbit hole, but I think sexuality in general, and I'm only familiar with this country because I've never lived anywhere else or in a different, demographic, whatever you want to call it. But I think there's middle ground to be found where it's not pedestrian, right? It's still like a thing, but it's also not as taboo. Mm-hmm. Because I think sex and sexuality, despite all the things that go on in, for modern audiences, it's still kind of, I think in people's personal lives, kind of a taboo subject. It's like, we're all aware of it. We all know what parts people have and what people do.
It's such a personal interaction. Because
but you don't feel, it's not like a shameful voyeuristic feeling when you're watching those scenes. I don't think that's what turns people off. Like, I shouldn't be watching it.
I don't know why people get so weird about it.
That's kind of what I'm trying to probe.
I mean, like, especially if you're watching it by yourself or with peers. I get why you would get weird about it with a parent or a child. I do.
Yeah.
I just do. That's some kind of line that I don't feel like going over. But I don't know why.
Like Infinity Pool. Infinity Pool had a lot of sex in it, right?
I think,
nudity.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that was an uncomfortable watch.
No.
Right?
No.
But I maybe some people would find that.
But some people do.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But like, for example, in society, right? Like nudity and whatever. I'll never forget when we went to Iceland.
Oh.
They have these awesome public indoor pools. They're great. The locals use them, right? And we learned about them. So we're like, we're going to go to the community pool. You pay some money and they're really nice, heated and facilities and whatever. You have to take a shower before you get in the pool. And you are supposed to take a shower with no clothes on.
That's normally the point of the shower, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You shower with your
But
clothes.
it explicitly says you must shower nude before going in. You can't like wear your bathing suit into the shower.
Okay.
But when you go in the locker room, it's just a gang shower.
Oh, so there's no stalls.
There are no stalls. There's no curtains.
I had a stall.
No, you had a stall at the Blue Lagoon. You
No.
did not have a stall. There were no.
I absolutely had a stall at the Blue Lagoon, but I also had a stall at the public pool.
Well, there were no stalls in the ladies' room at the public pool.
But I guess the point is that there are nude people walking around everywhere.
Everywhere, and they're cool with it. I am not cool with it because I was not raised that way. Maybe if I grew up in a society where people are like, "Oh,
wait,
I'm gonna go."
You've come to the crux of it.
That's right.
Right. It's
Here it is.
normalized for certain people.
Yeah,
Because it is normal.
Sure.
Right?
for them.
It's normalized in a sociological way in their culture.
Yeah.
But as a human being, it is normal.
To walk around naked.
Just like everyone knows, you're just a person. You're a body, and you're wearing clothes.
Imagine all the beaches in Europe that are just topless.
I know.
It's whereas around here it's like a secret, like, oh, there's a nude beach like in the corner of the island. Like you have to go through this path.
But honestly, I wouldn't want to go to a nude beach mostly because I do not want to see other naked people. I just don't. I get some people do or they don't care or whatever, but I don't want to see it.
I don't want to get sunburned.
In certain places, sure.
Very practical. There is
Or sand.
sunblock.
You can get sand in places.
When I went to Spain, there were topless beaches. No one cares because it's like, yep, women have boobs. There they are.
I
Guys
think
walk around without shirts all the time on the beach.
Don't you think it's probably nicer for men because they can look at all the boobs? Like, I don't care. I don't want to look at that.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And, just send us a fan mail.
Oh,
You think
please.
I'm out of line. Men are much more visually sexual creatures where they are attracted to the female form in its, the image of it, the embodiment of femininity, sexuality, whatever. You can see it. I don't know that women necessarily feel the same way. Not all of them, because everyone likes to see an attractive person. But
Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. I mean, yeah, I guess so.
and men and women are different, like
They are.
inherently.
That's true.
Right?
And then the other part of it is if you go to a topless beach, it's like, I don't want to be ogled. I'm not saying I would be. I'm just saying I don't.
But
think
if you
I'd
went to
feel
a topless
comfortable.
beach, people are generally comfortable with that.
Right, like I feel
yeah.
like they're not the people and I'm sure there are tourists that show up at those beaches, but
course.
the regulars at those beaches probably aren't ogling just because they're there all the time.
I mean,
like that's
look,
not what they're there
they're
for.
looking.
Think that you're not being looked at
That's
when you go to
right.
any beach
Correct.
Sure.
or anywhere.
That's right. That is
People
true.
could ogle you in a swimsuit.
Of course they
or just
can.
in general.
There's ogling all over the place. But what I'm saying is I don't feel comfortable. I only feel comfortable being in certain layers. Like, I'm not going to walk around with no clothes on. I'm not going to do it.
Like, I go to the gym at work.
Yeah.
And
oh, please go ahead.
On the treadmill naked.
all the time. I exercise completely nude.
And you have the whole gym to yourself.
I've
Everyone
been
else leaves.
Written up several times. No, but in the locker rooms, and it's funny because it's a mix of all kinds of different cultures. There
Yeah.
are people from all over the world where I work. And you can tell because some people do not care
They're totally cool with
about
all
that.
out.
It's
Yeah.
just boom.
Yeah.
I'm getting changed, so of course I'm taking off my clothes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go walk into a shower. I don't need to cover up walking
Right.
from here to the
That's
shower.
right.
I do. Like I will put a towel
Yeah.
on. Like I'm not gonna hide myself.
Do you get naked in the locker room?
Yes, I have
Do you?
to like change my clothes. Yes. But so does everyone else.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
It's just some people are in the corner. Some people, look down and just do their thing and whatever. Other people are like, boom, I'm in here. I'm looking. I'm going to chat with you
Gonna
and
make
put my
eye
foot up
contact
on the
with
bench.
Sack just swinging there.
Oh my God.
Air everything out. and
Right? No, I don't know.
Have a chat.
I don't want that.
I remember being in the gym back in my gym days, and I would never go in the locker room at the gym.
No.
I would work out.
Not at all.
And then just go home.
Yeah.
And shower at home if I needed to.
Yeah.
But this one time I had to go to the I had to use their bathroom.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, God damn it. So I go in the locker room, and as soon as I go in, there's like this between 60 and 70-year-old guy.
It's always older guys.
Completely naked, brushing his teeth.
Oh my God! Why?
Like at the sink.
Why do you have to be like
With, like,
freeballing it?
Covered in gray hair.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh, God. Because I didn't even, in high school, I never showered after gym in high school.
No.
Never. I never did. I would just put change my clothes and...
But what was keeping you from doing that?
Self-conscious. I mean, I was also, overweight and self-conscious, and I just didn't, I was the guy that would wear a shirt in the pool back then.
Yeah, all right, but I think there are a lot of people, for a lot of different reasons, whether it's self-conscious or not, that don't want to be in that scenario.
Me.
Right?
I don't. I would be the same way. Like, I remember in middle school, we were supposed to shower, but a lot of the girls felt that way, and none of us would. It's like, I don't want to get naked in front of you.
Because
it was weird to us.
Yeah.
Just modest, It's like, I don't...
But it's not, see...
it is.
I disagree with that premise, because I don't think it's modesty. You're not being overtly sexual or showing off. It's like you're just a person, they're people too, you're in a place where you get changed and shower, so what's wrong with doing that?
I don't feel comfortable.
Well, yeah, that's a circular argument.
But that's the way it is. I don't know, why.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I just don't want to expose myself to other people. I don't.
Yeah.
I will never go streaking.
See, but that streaking
different.
is exposing. You're taking off your clothes and running out somewhere because you want people to look at you. That is exhibitionist behavior. It is not exhibitionist behavior to
No,
to
it's
change
not.
in
To go
gym.
in a locker room and take a shower with... But it's still weird to me. I don't want to take a shower with other people.
Yeah, but in other countries, it's
Totally
obviously not.
normal.
So it's not a fundamentally human thing.
No, it's societal.
It's a societal, cultural.
It's definitely a societal thing.
And it's interesting. I mean, maybe it's because we have puritanical roots here in our country, but
Could be.
yeah, I just find it odd. I really do.
I'm okay with it. I don't want to see everybody's junk.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's not a burning desire to see everyone's junk. It's just that everyone's got one.
No, I know.
What's
and
the big
I've
deal?
seen a lot of people's stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you're a nurse. That's your
That's
job.
right. I've seen it. But I don't want to see it out of that context.
You see enough of it at work.
I don't even have to see it at work anymore. I'm good. I don't have to give bed baths and all that. So
How many penises have you seen in your life? If you had to put a number on it.
One, only mine.
no, that's not true. You can ask me how many I've handled too,
Oh,
because I've had to catheterize people. A lot.
Jesus.
When you do that, you got to pull it up, twist the catheter, and make sure it goes past the prostate. Yeah, I was good at it.
Easier on a guy.
Oh my God. Yes. I've seen and handled a lot of lady parts too. So I'm well rounded. But I don't, and again, I'm cool with watching movies with sex scenes. It's okay. I mean, I think there's a point where it's over the top, but I feel that way about too much violence or too much whatever. That's just me. Mm-hmm. Who I am. I am a big fan of moderation. I know it's boring, but I like it.
Well, especially if it's not in service to what the movie's trying
That's
to do.
right.
If it's just shoehorned in there for attention or something like that, then it's usually more obvious. They're just trying to get a rise out of people. No pun intended.
And
Yeah, I agree.
sometimes
I
it
agree
works.
too. And it's like if it's just. But again, that brings me back to my original question, which is how do those scenes add to a movie? Where is there a scene like that isn't shoehorned in, that could be removed entirely without affecting.
Well,
Right, because there are things the movie can do to make it obvious that the characters had sex. You know, they go into a room, they start kissing, maybe
and then the camera cuts
somebody
away.
takes a shirt off, and then
it's
and then it
insinuated.
fades out.
I prefer
And then the
that.
next scene, they're in bed with the sheets up to their necks
I know.
talking.
Right,
It's implied.
Sometimes I prefer that to like actually watching people like do it.
Okay. An example from a movie we watched somewhat recently, The Cooler. Mm-hmm. I did not need
You
to
didn't like William H. Macy's thrusting?
see William H. Macy in that.
Right?
In that
It's too.
form.
It's almost too much. It's like I don't need this.
But I also don't know why it was added in the first place. Like
Show how-
why did we need to see that? Why was that added to the screenplay? And they thought that we need to add this in. Like parts of it were funny intentionally. Like
Yeah,
that was part of their aim.
I wonder though if part of it is they think they'll get more people's eyes on the movie if
Don't
they
you
know
think-
that there's nudity
Yeah.
going
It's
into
to
it.
Yeah, for
Because
appeal-
you've got a certain demographic
Right.
that is just like, oh, nudity. I'm
But
definitely
you're,
watching
right,
this.
You're
Yeah.
appealing to people's voyeuristic tendencies.
Right, like,
And
oh,
some
I could
people are more
see-
interested than others.
Such and such an
whoa.
actress take her clothes off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch that.
Sure. Yeah.
You do that all the time.
What?
So,
How dare you?
You know,
Carl doesn't need to be singled out. I think most men
I'm just saying,
appreciate
'cause he
seeing an
talks
attractive
about it.
female naked
you just
in any circumstance.
I mean, they have that whole website, Mr. Skin, where you could like put in an actress's name and it shows you all the movies that she's naked in. From what I've heard.
so apparently there's a database.
I'm speechless from what I've heard.
But are you surprised?
No, not at all. I just always get amused by Carl.
I've never seen it myself.
I'm sure. I don't know.
It's just I've heard things.
Hearsay.
Yeah.
Speculation. So I don't know, but apparently the level of sex and nudity is severe.
Severe.
Severe in
We'll
this
be the
movie.
judge of that.
We will be.
Crossed into severe territory.
Yes. Cross the Rubicon. So anyway, it'll be something.
Yeah.
And especially, and again, just to close the loop on this, especially in modern times where
Modern audiences.
there's so much of it, so much porn and the OnlyFans and blah, 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 shoved everywhere, that there is a segment that feels uncomfortable watching films with those types of scenes
It could be that.
in it. It could be what?
That's the reason.
Oversaturation?
Yeah. Or, you know, how things are cyclical.
Yeah.
You know, in the 40s and 50s, there was the Hays Code and you couldn't show anything. And then, you know, we talked about this in the 60s
Right.
through now has been like a crescendo of just whatever, right? Anything goes. So maybe people are tired of that. They're like, I don't want anything goes. I don't know. It could be, though.
Well, we'll find out, I guess.
I mean, it
Not in
is
this movie.
Well,
We won't find out.
when a movie's as polarizing as this.
Yeah.
I get kind of excited because whether you love it or hate it, you're gonna have something to talk about.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this, and I'm really tried very hard not to read too much into the reviews, you know, to start forming somebody else's opinion as my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You want to try to keep objective.
yeah, I do. I'm interested.
Untainted.
So
There's gonna be plenty of taints in this. It
taint.
sounds like.
I think so. I think Mark Ruffalo does another terrible British accent. What was the show? All the Light We Cannot See. He
Yeah.
was in that. That man cannot do a British accent, and no one should allow him to try. It's so bad.
And they have dialect coaches and everything in
He's
Hollywood.
bad. So I guess he plays someone British in this, so we'll see if he's improved at all. Because it takes me out of it. If there's like an actor or actress and their accent is off, it's ruined.
Yeah.
Ruined.
Get a lot into that with the Boston accents in movies with duly
Oh,
appointed
God,
federal marshals.
marshal all the time. Except for Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they can pull it off.
Because they're from there,
I know,
right?
because they actually have them. But yeah. Ugh. So
Well, I guess we'll see.
this is on Hulu as of right now. So I added it to our stuff. That's
Wow.
what they call it on Hulu, my stuff. It's very casual. Add it to my stuff.
Good.
Wow, in unison even. Carl, what did we have for dinner? You don't know.
I'm sure there's some fancy. It was like pasta and meat sauce.
Pasta, creamy pumpkin pasta bake.
Is that what that was?
Mm-hmm. Sausage, and it was good, right?
Yeah.
And salad.
I enjoyed it in the salad. I had it.
I had it. I stuffed it in my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tasty.
So we'll have some dessert midway through. This movie is long. It's 2 hours and 21 minutes.
Long ass movie.
It's a long ass movie. And I think that's all I want. I'm just checking my notes. I don't think there's anything else I want to say.
Copious notes.
Copious notes. Now we're going to watch copious sex.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Finally.
Who doesn't like that?
Well, there's a line. There's a line
Where?
on the television.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. All right, let's do it. And we have returned from our hours-long viewing of Poor Things.
It was only a little over 2 hours.
It just seemed long.
Okay.
It did. What did we think? Besides me thinking it seemed long.
Carl enjoy movie.
What?
Carl enjoy movie.
Carl enjoy movie? Yay, Carl. Happy Carl.
Yeah, honestly, I enjoyed it too.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that there were... I don't know that I'd rush out and recommend it. I don't know that I need to see it again. But, however, I did enjoy... I thought the story was interesting. I thought a lot of the visual elements were interesting. Not just the cinematography, but the use of color throughout. And I don't know.
Even like aspect ratio, like different camera, like just different. Like sometimes it would be like a pinhole cam. Sometimes it was.
Yeah, I was trying
just
to figure out why that was the way it
interesting.
was.
Well, how about... I mean...
How about me?
Well, yeah.
So I have a more complicated take on this.
Okay.
The cinematography is amazing. No question. Hands down. Visual feast for your eyes. The acting was amazing. Emma Stone was great. Everyone was great. Mark Ruffalo's accent was horrible.
Yeah, he's an ass of a person too, but
He
whatever.
is. His accent was really bad, like distractingly bad. The music at times I thought was really good and interesting, and this didn't seem to bother anyone else, but there were these like high-pitched violin
Yeah.
noises, and they were like going right through my
It's meant to make you feel uncomfortable.
yeah, that's the point.
ear. Yeah, but it hurt my head. Anyway, that's neither here
shit.
nor there.
That's not the movie's
I didn't
fault.
say it was the movie's fault. I'm observing something.
Okay.
Don't jump down my throat.
Whoa, no one's jumping anywhere. But like it is by design supposed to make it feel
Well,
uncomfortable.
I noticed it.
I guess you're just sensitive.
I was to
frequencies.
that frequency. It was bothering me. It was really funny, like hilariously funny. But I don't think I don't know that I'm 100% on board with the message of this movie.
Which is what?
I think it's a movie about female self-actualization. That's what I think this movie is about. It starts out with this... Well, maybe I should recap the movie before I start talking about it.
I think that's a good idea, but why is it just female actualization just because the main character is a female?
Let me recap the movie and then I'll answer your question.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to try. You guys help me. So this movie...
Spoilers.
Spoilers Ed. This movie...
We're almost at 100 episodes. Every time we
Spoilers.
talk about a
We're
movie,
gonna say
we
it.
have to spoil the movie because we're talking about the
This
movie.
movie is about a character played by Emma Stone named Bella Baxter. And you find out that Bella Baxter was created, a la Frankenstein, by Willem Dafoe, whose name is Godwin Baxter, who is a scientist. And
But his name is Godwin, but he is referred to as...
She calls him God.
Her
and
God.
you don't know why at first. You're like, why is she called... Well, you know he's the creator, but then you realize that's also his name. So that's a clever little
Yes.
play on his name. He finds a woman commits suicide. That's how the movie opens. A woman commits suicide, jumps off a bridge, and he collects her body and takes her back to his lab he lets her die. He could have saved her, but he lets her die, and she's pregnant. So in
way pregnant.
insane world, he cuts the baby out. He realizes that, or he rationalizes that, I'm not going to bring this woman back to life, but I can reanimate her body. If I bring her back to life, she committed suicide for a reason. She didn't want to live anymore. So I'm not going to punish her by bringing her back. But he cuts the baby out. And to Carl's point, instead of trying to save the baby,
Like raise the baby as his own or something.
he takes the baby's brain and puts it in the dead woman's head. So the dead woman is now her daughter reanimated.
You don't know if it was her daughter. You don't know the sex of the baby.
No, you don't. You're right. You don't. Her child. Doesn't matter.
And you never know the sex of the baby.
No, you don't. But so when Bella Baxter comes to life, she has the mind of an infant. And she rapidly develops, like much more than over the years it would take for a child to develop. But you see her go through all those different developments. And so in the big picture sense, you watch her go through, like, all I could think of was psych class, where it's like Erickson's stages of development, like autonomy versus dependence, and then identity versus, I forget what it is. And then also Maslow's hierarchy of needs, leading to overcoming your basic needs and then your ego needs to become self-actualized. Yeah. Like, this is about self-actualization.
But on top of all that, too, as part of the filming, I mean, the movie starts with her jumping off the bridge, and it's in color, vivid color. And as you progress from there, the movie is in black and white.
Once you are introduced to Bella Baxter, the movie is in black and white.
Why?
Because her life is black and white.
No.
What do you mean no?
I'm not saying that your opinion is wrong, but here's an altering view or a differing viewpoint. Infants see in black and white when they're born.
Okay.
And eventually color bleeds in. They see red and yellow after black and white as that come in, and then other colors start to develop from there. As she develops, she herself goes out into the world, her brain develops, her mind develops.
Sure.
And she starts to see color. She comes out of that infancy.
She leaves, the minute you see color is when she runs away and leaves with Mark Ruffalo.
But that's a sign of development.
I saw it more as like a Wizard of Oz thing.
Right, but
I think it could be both.
Isn't that kind of the same, where you are, leaving the known behind and going out into the world? Like her base self, she's progressed enough where she's out of infancy and
that's right.
entering the real.
She's becoming autonomous. She
world.
Wants to be autonomous.
But that's. I just thought it was interesting because you do see flecks of yellow in the black and white. The image it's not the television that's doing that.
No, you do notice that, but
and it's changing. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. So she is in this house with Godwin Baxter, Willem Dafoe, and he's got his own problems. He's all deformed, and his dad was a scientist and experimented on him and kind of turned him into this weird, like, steampunky cyborg thing. He needs a lot of medical equipment to maintain himself, and he's just very interested in Bella as an experiment, but I think also as a human being.
Right, he has like a paternal instinct toward her.
And he wants to protect her. He wants to keep her. He's like, no, she can't go anywhere. So he hires a doctor in the local village to come and take notes and observe her. And this doctor falls in love with her. I'm not sure why, because at that point she's like a toddler.
Like, is this a commentary? Is it a commentary on men?
I think there's
and the fact that they would prefer to have a malleable woman that
I think this
hasn't, like, they want to be the ones to give them experience, or
I think this entire movie is a commentary on men that I don't know that I like.
Okay. I disagree, but okay.
So anyway, this doctor comes on board. He falls in love with the idea or the person that is Bella Baxter. And she has no clue because she's doing her own baby thing. And Willem Dafoe's character says, hey, I see you like her. Why don't you marry her? You have to live with me, but you can marry her. And he's like, okay. So he wants to form a contract. So they get a lawyer, and the lawyer is Mark Ruffalo. Was his name Duncan? I forget his last name.
Yeah.
And so Mark Ruffalo's lawyer character comes on the scene to like certify this prenuptial agreement. And he's intrigued. He's an ass. You can tell right away he's an ass. But he's intrigued by, this woman must be something really special if you need all this paperwork. So he goes sneaking around the house and he finds her. And at the same time, she's discovered her sexual awakening. So she's really into that. And it's all about base impulsive pleasure at this point. Like having sex and eating food and breaking things and screaming. Like it's all base level impulse stuff. So she's like, oh my God, a man, and he's interested in me. I can get what I want from him. And he's like, oh, you're exciting, and why don't you run away with me? So she's like, okay, I'm going to. So she warns everybody. She warns Godwin. He's like, I guess you're going to go.
Well, she basically says, like, I'll still marry Max, but I need to go out in the world and experience things, and then I'll come back and I'll be ready to marry him.
Yeah. So,
which again is a stage of development,
that's
right? I mean, it's
Autonomy.
Good to go out, become worldly, learn what you like, don't like, experience things,
That's right.
and then make a decision.
That's right. So she goes out with him into the world. They go to Portugal, and a bunch of things happen. Like
lots of sex.
Oh, there's a lot. There's severe amounts. So definitely don't watch it with your parents or your kids.
Yeah. But on that note, and to our earlier discussion, it all works with the film.
I think so. It was a lot. Like,
yeah, but it fits with her character. Like, it wasn't. Was there a lot of it? Yes. Was it gratuitous and just shoehorned in for no reason?
I mean,
I don't
for the
think
purpose
so.
of the story. It was a lot. So a bunch of stuff happens in Portugal, and she is now realizing there's other men out there, and there's other things out there besides Duncan the lawyer. And he's getting possessive. So he says, he's like, I'm really sorry. I've been kind of possessive. I want to take you on an adventure. Get in this box. She does.
It's like a trunk.
She's very...
But all the while, she's developing more rapidly.
Yes.
Throughout this.
She's learning from each stage.
Much to his dismay.
Yeah, he doesn't want that.
Because she is changing rapidly from where she was when she started.
And she's becoming independent.
Yeah.
So, she gets in the box, and he ends up trundling her onto a cruise ship. He's like, I'll get her on the ocean. She can't, meet anybody. So they get on the cruise ship, and she meets this couple, an older lady and a younger man, and the older lady is kind of refined and well read and starts introducing her to books and philosophy, and the young man is a self-proclaimed cynic. So he starts to tell her about the darker side of the world. He's like, you're so naive, you don't know anything. So on the cruise ship, they end up in Egypt, and from the hotel in Alexandria, he shows her, he's like, look down at this village, and there's all these people suffering and babies dying. And he's like, this is what the world is like. And it upsets her. She has empathy. So, and the whole time, Mark Ruffalo's character is still trying to, get her to come back. He's so aggravated. He's like, you keep just reading. You're not interested in sleeping with me anymore. You have these other interests. And he's very trying to be possessive. And he's all over the place. But she's so upset by all this suffering. She's like, they need money. They need help. So she takes all his money and basically gives it away. And he kind of loses it. And the captain the ship finds out that he has no money. So they drop him off at the next port, which is in France. They end up in Paris destitute, completely destitute. And he's yelling at her. He's like, what are you doing? We have no money. You gave our money away. And she's like, all right, I'll go. She realizes what she did was probably not great. She's like, I'll go get more. So she wanders around, and there's a madam in front of a brothel. And she basically propositions Bella, being like, you can make this much money if you just come in and turn a trick. So she kind of asks questions about that and realizes that's acceptable to her. So she goes and whores herself out and makes some money, brings it back to Mark Ruffalo, tells him, and he's like, oh, we're done. I'm done. I can't believe you did this. I'm done with you. And she ended up having some money tucked away that she's like, well, here, I had this emergency money, and why don't you just buy a ticket back to London? And he steals all her money and stomps off and leaves. So then she realizes, well, I need money. So she goes and she gets gainful employment at the brothel. And then there's a whole, what?
Is a montage.
It's like a montage. It's like a brothel montage.
Various rogues gallery
Johns,
of men.
Yep. And she's
very interesting. Like every cast member in this movie, especially this section, they find just the weirdest cavalcade of men.
There's a guy crawling around like a spider with like weird eyes on his head.
The guy with a hook for a hand.
Yes.
It's just a.
But anyway, she's getting all these different experiences with different men and realizing some things she likes and some things she doesn't like. And she makes friends with one of the other fellow prostitutes, and they start going to some socialist club. I don't know. That didn't go anywhere. But they become friends and eventually also lovers. So she's experiencing all the things. And the brothel madam kind of takes Bella under her wing and gives her some life advice about how, you have to experience bad things so that you can enjoy the good things. And then
I think the socialist thing was just to show that she was also expanding her mind as well as her worldly experiences.
Right, she picks up reading, and so she moves from having sex all the time to she's always reading a book.
Right.
So
then she finds out that I might be missing something, but she finds out Willem Dafoe is dying. He's dying.
Yes.
And a note, he sends word to her, and she's like, I have to go home. And then does Mark Ruffalo...
He wanted her to come home. He missed her, and he felt a paternal bond.
That's right.
To her, and having such a bizarro, poor relationship with his father who experimented on him.
Right.
He wanted to have a different kind of bond with her to try to understand why his father treated him that way.
Right.
And he created another little Frankenstein woman.
Right. But he wants no feelings for her.
He has decided he's not emotionally attached to her. Yeah. And she doesn't develop as fast as Bella, and you wonder if it's because he doesn't give her any love.
Yeah.
So she comes back, right? There's nothing that happens in between then.
Many things happen.
Yeah, but she comes back, and she's like, okay, I'm back. I'm sorry you're dying. I've learned a lot. I want to stand in your shoes. I would like to be a doctor. And I'll marry, what's his name?
Max,
the doctor who she was originally betrothed to.
And he's still into her.
He's whatever. He's down for whatever.
No.
So they have a nice conversation, and he's like, I'm still committed to you if you want to do that. She's like, yeah, okay. So they go to the church. They go to get married. And then Mark Ruffalo shows up because he can't let go and he's still angry with the husband of the woman who
she killed herself. Right, because Mark, while they were on the cruise, it was either on the cruise or before the cruise.
When they were in Portugal.
Somebody came up to them and started calling her, Victoria.
Yeah.
And Bella's like, I don't know who you're talking about. And she's like, you're not Victoria, whatever her last name was?
Yeah.
She said, no. And so once the whole thing with Mark Ruffalo happened, he did some research and he looked up the name that woman called her.
Right, and put
Put something in the paper.
Together.
It sounded like he put an ad in the paper or something to try to locate her family, and he ended up sabotaging her marriage with her body's ex-husband.
Thank you. There it is. The body's husband.
The body's husband.
Mark Ruffalo's he was in an insane asylum at the time.
She drove him crazy.
And they tracked him down trying to find her because they were looking for her.
Trying to find her. That's
and they eventually found him.
I missed something.
Yeah. But not really.
Okay. So the husband of Bella's body, Bella's mother.
Well, it's Bella's father, technically.
That's right.
Yeah.
He thinks that's his wife, and he's like, you need to come home.
She has amnesia.
You might have amnesia. You need to come home.
Right.
And so Bella's curious, right? She's like, all right, let's go see what you're all about.
You were married to her? Yeah.
My life was, where I come from. So she ditches the guy at the altar, Max.
Who's okay with it.
So he's okay with whatever. And leaves with this guy. And this is when I thought the movie got too long. This guy was such a caricature. He was so over the top. He was like some ex-army guy.
The general.
And he was holding his servants like at hostage at gunpoint. He was basically
because he feared an uprising.
Yeah.
Because they were assholes.
I know.
He was a horrible person, and so was she.
The woman, Victoria.
Yeah, because you could tell based on how the servants treated her as they were
they were
they would experiment them
her.
for fun. As we
it was just
come to find out
a lot. So Bella is seeing all this unfold, and then the husband decides he wants to basically clip her wings, so to speak. He's like, you can't leave the house.
That's one way to put it.
Then I just would like to point out that this was the second movie starring Willem Dafoe that involved discussion of genital mutilation. The first one being
Antichrist.
So that was a surprise.
Discussed. I mean,
it happened.
It happened to that one.
I don't even want to go there, please.
Chaos reigns.
But he wants to... Chaos reigns. The husband wants to do this to the woman, to be like, you need to chill out. If I do this, it'll settle you down. I'll give you a baby. You'll be fine. You can just stay here. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. So she ends up throwing like chloroform in his face and shooting him in the foot. Then she feels badly because he's bleeding and he's going to die. So she brings him back to the Baxter estate and operates on him, stops his foot bleeding, but then decides she's going to mess with his brain.
He needs improvement.
He does. So that's all you see of that. Then Godwin dies, and they're all there.
I kind of thought that she was going to put his brain in the general's body.
So I had that feeling at first too.
Just so he could live forever.
But she would never place his mind in a body of someone that embodies something that she hates.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would have to see, know that was Godwin in there, but see this person.
Yeah.
I think he was also ready to die, and she needed to accept
that too.
So anyway, the end of the movie, Bella's sitting there reading a book. She's a doctor now. Her little lesbian prostitute friend is also there. Her fiance, husband.
Is she a doctor yet? I thought she's
studying,
worried about.
I'm sorry, she's studying to be a doctor.
Yeah,
My apologies. And the other little Frankenstein girl is there, and
who's improving? Because the maid there is caring for her.
And then the husband's there. If he's the husband, we're not sure. And then
Max, right? That was his name.
That was his name. And then the husband of Victoria, of Bella's body,
the general guy,
is there, and they put a goat's brain into his body, so he's a goat.
And where did his so she wanted to save his life, but then what do they do with his brain?
I think they got rid of it. I do. It was rotten.
Well,
and then the movie ends.
They have all these different kinds of pets around the house. There's like a chicken with a pig's head.
Favorite part.
A goose with a dog's body or something.
Yes. Yeah. It was so great.
Just running around, and you see them at the beginning of the movie at first. You're like, what the hell is that? Is that a... a real thing, and then you start to see what these things really are. They're
dogoose.
just bizarre.
Yeah.
At one point, they're in like a carriage, and it's supposed to be a horse-drawn carriage, but they just have the head of a horse on the front of it, and then it looked like it was steam-powered.
Yeah.
I loved all those things. I love those little hybrid animals.
And then, Willem Dafoe, his father, removed some gland inside him just to see what would happen.
Like he can't produce gastric juices.
That's right. So
Yeah.
he's hooked up to this machine every time he eats, and he burps these bubbles, which look like, if you're familiar with Twin Peaks, in Twin Peaks: The Return, there's the
Like the egg.
the golden eggs
Yeah.
or whatever that come in.
It's very Lynchian.
It's very Lynchian,
Yeah.
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 The
It's
noise,
reminiscent of
he's just
that.
like,
Yeah,
it comes
so
out just-
bizarre. But it was a spectacle. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still I understand the message, and I do like the concept of all these little stages of
So wait,
development.
what don't you agree about the message?
What is the message? You said you were going to get back to that after we sum the movie
So
up.
I think part of the message is the road to self-actualization, right? And what that entails. But I don't think that
But wait, that's what happens in the film.
Yeah.
The film is kind of an allegory for that, but what is the message?
I just didn't like that. I think part of having, and not, okay, I got a caveat, not for everybody, because everybody's different.
Yeah.
But I think for the majority of humanity, the road to self-actualization is, like, part of that are having relationships, and I have to think about it more. It's not, I felt like this movie was, I felt like as a woman, this movie was saying to me, this is the way you do it to be a strong, independent woman.
Really?
You have to do it. Yeah, I did.
Why? Why did you feel? Because I didn't feel as though there was any sort of message that they were trying to push.
It bothered me that Bella never had any meaningful romantic or meaningful relationship with a man.
Okay, let's take that. Is that because of the way that they were portraying men in the film, or was it because of the way that she was developing? The fact that she was, an infant's brain placed in an adult's body that was still learning and seeing the world, and in the environment that she was being brought up in.
But if you follow that trajectory, that infant to adult, there is a portion of time in that development where you are seeking meaning and relationships, and you are finding, somebody to be with, intimacy, not sex, intimacy, having a relationship with somebody, a meaningful relationship.
I mean, was that Max for her?
Yeah, absolutely it was. She always reserved him for that.
Like, she wanted to get all of the other stuff out of the way before she was going to be ready to marry Max.
I guess so, because the movie doesn't tell that to me. She doesn't end up marrying Max. You don't.
We don't know that.
No, we don't. That's what I'm saying. I just feel like that's important, and it wasn't addressed. It was almost purposefully omitted.
And he,
like, you don't need that to be happy.
he seemed into her regardless. He was into her in the beginning. He was still into her once she was, when she came back, she was completely different than when she left, but he was still I'm still.
But he knew that she was that's what would end up happening, that she would continue to develop.
Right.
Because she was when she was there. I don't know. I guess if you're looking for something in this film, you're going to find it, right?
I guess so. It was the things that, I don't know. That stood out to me.
The fact that, or what stood out to you, was that she never sought out a meaningful reciprocal romantic relationship.
I just feel like every portrayal of, and I don't want to sound like somebody on the internet.
Yeah, but whatever. What? Because you are somebody on the internet, by the way, to everyone who's listening to this.
Every man in this film was flawed.
Every person's flawed. She was flawed too. Every woman in this film was flawed.
every woman in this film was portrayed in a much more sympathetic light, even if they were flawed.
I disagree. I think that's perception.
Yep. It is.
I do.
But I don't know.
And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that I think that this is one of those films where what you get out of it and what you like the messaging, whatever, is going to be really dependent on, and this is true for a lot of films, but this one especially, who you are and
yeah,
what you see in those circumstances. I don't know. I thought it was very interesting because it was reminiscent of, Frankenstein, obviously.
If Frankenstein had a lot of sex.
Well, no, all right, yeah, there is a lot of sex in the film, and fine, but it also went along with those stages of development that she was in. I mean, imagine if you had, everyone went through puberty, and that's essentially what she was doing, but in an adult's body with the autonomy of an adult, right?
Yes.
So it worked. It made sense at that point of her in her development, because she makes a point. She's like, "Oh my God, why don't people do this all the time?" And it's like, well, right, but at that point, that seems reasonable. But as you get older, you understand that, or life happens, and you mature in different ways, and you can't just have uncontrolled impulses for things all the time. Like she not, it's not just sex. It's she wanted to eat those pastries, and when she's with Mark Ruffalo, she has one and she wants another one.
And he's like, no, you're gonna get sick.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? One is just enough. More than that is too many.
Yeah.
But then when she goes out on her own and no one's telling her what to do, she pounds them.
Yeah, and then throws up.
And learns that way that it's like, oh, all right. But I don't know. It's almost like if you took Frankenstein and did a deep dive on it, because
followed him for longer.
Yeah, because it's like a story of self-discovery. It's like, how do you see the world? But you need an adult's perspective on that, because to go through all those phases, it takes a lifetime when you're actually going through them. But
I was wondering that, how much time do you think passed in this movie?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Because if she started as an infant, if they put an infant's brain in her body.
Oh, no. All of that's accelerated.
Keep going, but I think I know where you're going.
Well, because they even said, didn't they say her hair is growing an inch a day or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why.
It's
because they're showing that everything's accelerated.
So
right.
She ate
She might be aging at an accelerated rate too. I don't know.
Because you never really see her going to school. She basically.
Well, she did go to school. You see her in the operating theater in a lecture.
Sure.
As well.
Yeah, but not great. It's fantastical.
Of course, it's fantastical, but she's being taught at home. At least that's the implication.
Right.
She's homeschooled.
She's kind of just passively schooled.
Like a sponge, just absorbing whatever people are telling her.
Just grab it. Take it. Just grab it and take it. So, there were parts of this movie that I liked, but I'm going to think about it more. But there's something that doesn't sit right. But stunning. Visually stunning and really funny.
Yeah.
And a lot of good concepts. So.
Well, it's interesting and it's creative. It
is.
The sets, the visuals, the little mid-scene, whenever they change locations, they have this super cool,
the cards.
Right, the title cards.
With, the place they were. This was based on a book, by the way. Huh. I forgot to mention that. I don't even remember who wrote it. Look it up. You can look it up. You have the internet.
But for, just as a film, right? I thought it was good. It kept my attention the entire time. I did not fall asleep. I think
you didn't.
Visually engaging. I think it's intellectually interesting.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of discussions to be had after seeing this movie. There's a lot that you can, chew on.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially some earlobes.
Yes, there was chewing on earlobes. That's true. It was a little overlong. I found by the end, I'm like, all right, come on, wrap it up.
Oh, I didn't think so.
No, I did.
But I like long movies, and this wasn't long.
Well,
it just wasn't short.
It felt long.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But no, I thought it told a complete story.
Yep.
What?
I gotta think about it more. The guy at the end was so ridiculous to me. Like, just so, I don't know. And the movie is fantastical, so it's okay, but it just, I don't know, it sent me right over. I'm like, wow. I thought the movie was gonna end, and it kept going.
Well, I almost feel like the guy at the end put into practice the whole conversation she had with the guy on the ship about cruelty. And how he was saying that all people are cruel, just inherently cruel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she had also never really encountered someone like that through the film where she wasn't the one in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was put into a position that was difficult for her, but also very reminiscent of how she started, where she was not allowed to leave the grounds.
Completely.
But she's a completely different person at that point in the movie.
She's also an adult, technically. Right. You know what I mean? Like, she's grown. She has
agency
in the world. Yes, she has agency.
Yeah. Carl, what would you rate this movie?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it 4 streeps.
Okay, I'm gonna give it 3.5 out of 5. Terrible British accents.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good for good old Mark Ruffalo.
He wasn't even trying.
It doesn't feel like it.
Like when he was in that asylum scene, his accent changed from like British to kind of French to just throwing it all out, and he's just like totally American.
Distractingly bad.
Yeah, he's terrible.
I guess so.
I mean, at accents,
yes,
he's terrible.
He is.
I don't like him as a human being, but as an actor, I thought he did a great job in this film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he played a really good smarmy prick.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's how he is in real life. Who knows?
Yeah, I would say so.
But his accent was atrocious. It really, anybody, a British person? I don't know.
I do like, because usually it's the British people that play the American parts.
Yep.
I like the fact that there were so many, Americans here playing the British parts.
Is Emma Stone American?
England. Yes.
Well, she had a great British accent. She deserved the Oscar she got because I thought her acting was off the charts.
Well, yeah, because she just evolves through the entire. So she has to play various.
Especially
play a baby in a human body.
Yes, she nails it.
But she did.
The whole toddler.
All her movements,
just
the motion, the way she moves her eyes, the way certain ticks and everything. No, she was fantastic.
She was awesome.
I meant baby in an adult body, baby in a human body.
That what you said.
I did say
totally
that originally. Yeah,
Sorry.
Baby in an adult body.
In an adult body.
I heard in an adult body.
I did too.
No,
that's what I heard.
I think I said in the human body, and then I'm like, wait a minute, baby. Every baby's in a human body.
Not baby
Your brain
animals.
just pattern corrects. It's like, oh, that's what he meant.
I knew what you meant.
It's like when you read those, if you could read these backwards letters, that means your brain is programmed.
A word appears twice in a sentence and your brain automatically discards.
Gets rid of it.
One. Yeah.
Yep.
So circling back, I can totally understand why my sister was like,
I don't know what to think about
this. You need to watch this. I don't know.
So now are you going to talk to her about it before the episode airs?
Yes, of course I will. We will chat about it.
This will be good Thanksgiving talk.
No, we will not talk about
you should have a viewing after your Thanksgiving meal.
Please, no. Oh, my God.
But yeah, it's definitely not
not a family movie.
It's not a family movie. I think I didn't read any of the critiques of this
Some
on
people
IMDb, but
were like, it was just too much. Like, they didn't see beyond. Sometimes you gotta look beyond what's going on and listen. The big picture. What's the message? Why are you being shown these things?
Right.
Don't just run away from.
Are
I don't know. It's
stupid. Some people don't have that sort of insight, and some people just don't want to.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't. Like I said, I didn't read all the negative reviews. I just kind of skimmed them because I didn't want to.
Spoil
the movie. But maybe I'll go back and read them now.
Yeah.
What is the problem?
No, it was one of the more interesting movies I've seen in recent time.
You and I will talk further.
Oh, yeah.
On this, for sure. No, we will.
Sure.
But, it was something. And visually just...
It was wild.
It was, and the music was weird.
I really, really liked the music.
Did you?
It was cool.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I mean, if I don't notice it, because you just said, did you like the music? And I
Yeah.
couldn't remember any of it.
Really?
That's usually a good sign
Oh.
from me because,
It was so jarring.
yeah, but the parts that were jarring.
No, I don't mean just the high-pitched violins. I just mean the melodies. They were so discordant.
Yeah, but I think that a lot of that fits with, like, it was scored very well.
Yeah,
Well, she's discordant. She's got another
Exactly.
person's brain in her body.
that's right.
Right, and you are feeling off kilter due to the music as well.
Yes.
And it works
I would like a hybrid animal.
really well.
I think that would be fun.
What hybrid, if you had to pick a hybrid
I
animal?
wanted
what do you-
the goose dog
The goose dog was cool.
with the goose head and the little tiny dog body.
Not the bulldog with like the chicken body.
No,
That-
or the
that-
pig.
that
I
was
thought
a
it was
pig.
a pig.
Or was
It
it a pig's
pig?
head?
Pig in a chicken body. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Then there was a goat because that's how they just stole it from.
Well, that was just a goat.
It was just a goat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't all be hybrids.
Turducken.
Well, they got to start off as like the thing, and then they
True. Splice them
make it
together.
into something else.
Yeah.
Pig and elephant DNA just won't splice.
There's a joke about that. What do you get when you cross an elephant and a rhinoceros?
I don't know.
Elefrino.
Knock knock. No.
That was Takaro.
Oh. Cheese to meet you.
That joke was not as funny as the French man.
That guy thought it was hilarious.
He seemed okay.
He seemed like a little bit of a psycho when he talked about his childhood memory of enjoying blood running down his leg.
He passed the sniff test, though.
He did. He didn't smell bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to know more, watch the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
should've just-
for real,
For real.
don't watch it with family.
No.
Kids, make sure they're
Don't.
By
in
family,
a
I mean
deep
kids,
sleep.
Yeah.
Better not
Make sure they're in
bring
like a
your
Matt last week sleep.
kids. Yeah, don't make the volume loud. There's a lot of noises.
Noises, grunts,
Yep.
you name it.
Yeah.
Don't,
and don't
watch
watch it with your parents.
No.
Nope. Maybe.
Shut your windows so your
Unless you had
neighbors
a-
don't
right?
notice you're watching
Unless
it.
you had a different upbringing. I mean,
I don't wanna
maybe
know.
watch it naked with your parents in a locker
Oh
room.
my God. Wow. Nope. We don't live there.
No,
That's not the country
we sure
we
don't.
live in.
I don't think we're allowed to visit that country.
No, we're not going. So, Carl, you're on deck
Yeah, sure am.
within the last year. You going to
Yep.
give us any previews or hints or?
So my pick is going to be truly released this year. None of this rolling 12 months
Oh, excuse
business
me. Wow.
that
Fine.
some others have decided to
Yes.
do. So mine is calendar year.
Okay.
And
What month?
I don't know the month, but we're going to have a killer time.
Is this going to be a horror movie?
Of course.
A murdery horror movie?
Maybe.
I heard there's a famous actor in this film
There
No
could
way.
be.
who
I
Carl,
like how this is starting. Nobody's going to know that reference.
Nope. Someday you should tell it.
Yeah, not today.
Not today. Another day. I'm so
they call that a
excited for
teaser.
you. All right. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. It was a weird episode. It was a weird movie. We're going to enjoy Thanksgiving. You already have.
Yes, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving weeks and weeks ago. Remember that? Now it's the Christmas season.
You finish your shopping? If you haven't finished your shopping, you'd better.
Yeah, you got to get on that.
You got like a week,
Okay?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
This will air pre-Christmas, but
Merry Christmas.
Oh, my pick is not a Christmas themed movie.
It's all right. We can create holiday cheer in other ways.
Sure.
All right. Well, want to wrap it up?
it's your episode.
I know, but
you
I'm
have a
just-
problem with this all the time.
You have to click the button. So
I just
I'm
have
making
to.
sure.
Would you like me to cut you off now?
I just want you
Goodbye,
to be done.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good time.
Have a good time.